Don't miss our tips and tactics video breakdown of the new Death Masque units from the box set and this neat little supplement. Spiky bits. Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today. Alright, Hobby Maniacs, we got us a 40K release. Woo! So this is, I don't know, the mini supplement. We'll go with mini supplement. It comes in a Death Masque box. It's 40 pages and it's pretty spicy. I mean, there's some interesting stuff in here. I'm Baer, and we're gonna give you our first look tips and tactics review of this bad boy here. So once you open up the cover, you'll notice that this is all the teasers that we saw last week for the box set that came out over on GW's Facebook page, basically summed all up together all in one right here. And it's kind of neat to see, like, it's basically explaining how it all works. Now, there's no table of contents in here, so I'll tell you this much, it's pretty much set up just like a normal 40K Codex. You know, you got the fluffy bits, some painted minis, some missions, and then it gets into, or missions, before the missions is like the bestiary, where it kind of talks about specific units and like what they do, who they are, why they're important, and then it gets into the war scrolls, or now I'm mixing up 40K and Age of Sigmar, and then it gets into the data scrolls, or the data sheets, for the particular units, and we have both Eldar and 40K in here, which is really nice, and it's a kind of refreshing change of pace. You know, there's some Eldar haters out there, but whatever. Yes, we know people don't like Eldar, and yes, you Eldar players, you're really good. Your stuff's accidentally super amazing. Got it. I just want to play with my toys and push them across the table. I don't care anymore. Anywho. So here's the bestiary section where it talks about Eldrad and Captain Artemis, and then all of the, you know, extra stuff in here. It's really cool. It kind of follows along the whole story for like that we're making to the Demesius, where it's like a crystal moon, and Eldrad's basically trying to use it as like a focal point for the summoning of the god of the dead, the Eldar god of the dead. But spoiler alert, I think all the Eldar have to die for that guy to be born. So that might not work out well for all the Eldar, or it might work out really well for the Eldar and they'll just get reborn again. Who knows exactly what's going on? But it's, you know, progressing the storyline moving forward, which is a lot of complaints that people had out there. So it's cool to see that something's happening. We don't know exactly what, but it is what it is. Then it gets into the game rules and missions, which there's some Altar of War missions in here. There's 3 of them, where it goes along with the story, just like, you know, Monka, just like Callion. It goes, you have the fluff of what's going on with the particular campaign or the particular book, and then it gets into, you can recreate some of those missions in the Altar of War section. But the stuff that we're going to spend the most time on is the actual rules for 40K itself, which start right here. Now, some very important distinctions, because we didn't really see this with the stuff that came out for Deathwatch Overkill, where you know, there were some data sheets in there for the Gene Stealers, and a lot of people were kind of disappointed and had some feel badsies with how all that works. And also, they weren't clear and concise about how the Deathwatch worked, you know, interfacing with Space Marine models themselves, right? So here we've got it completely laid out. Faction and allies. This is exactly how they work. They are part of the armies of the Imperium. They ally as such as described in the Warhammer 40K rules. Got it. Now, as far as formations and detachments go, they are basically, they give you very specifics. Watch Captain Artemis counts as a watch captain, which would replace the watch captain entry. So if you have a formation or a detachment that has a Deathwatch faction, you can sub him in or sub him out for that particular unit. Furthermore, you can do the same thing with Squad Krull, which subs in or subs out for one unit of veterans. And then over here, Galatiel subs in or subs out for Vanguard veterans, okay? So that's a very important distinction. Furthermore, Venerable Dreadnought and Nihilus also can sub in or can sub out for any Deathwatch faction, detachment, or formation that requires a Venerable Dreadnought. So everything in here is a special unit or character. It's just like we saw with the Deathstorm box for Blood Angels, you know, some, like Krellin and all those guys. Then we've got also, I think there was, I can't remember when Stormclaw, if there was stuff like this, but I do remember They had that name Space Wolf in there, but I don't. And they had Bad Ruck. I think it was Bad Ruck, but I don't remember them being more squads in there. So this might be the second time this has happened. Regardless, it's cool to see that you can sub these guys in and out in the actual Deathwatch Codex, which will be another video series. We'll do a first look review as well as a tips and tactics review, which will probably mention this book a little bit to kind of give you that 2 for action, because this is kind of like a mini supplement that will go with that. So here's Captain Artemis, which we've seen this guy earlier in the week. Some lucky hobbyists, of course, got their copies. So we're talking about it, had pictures up on the net. So for 145, he counts as basically a captain. He can sub in as a captain in Deathwatch, which we talked about. He's got power sword, frag grenades, crack grenades, iron halo, so he's got that sweet 4-up invulnerable. He's got the special issue ammunition, which we're going to show you here, and then it goes into more stuff. His warlord trait can change mission tactics, which we're going to talk about. Then special rules, fearless, feel no pain, and he has mission tactics special rule as well. Now, he comes with his own special relic, which is the Hellfire Extremis. It's a combi flamer, which you can see right there, which is great for fighting aliens, right? Great for burning up some Ordo Xeno, or for some Xenos. It's a combi weapon, which is Strength 1, AP 5, Assault 1, Poison 2. So it's, you know, it's basically a Hellfire, fires a Hellfire torrent, but not the torrent rule of, you know, we'll say gout of flame. How about that? Then he also has this cool stasis bomb, which when he makes a close combat attack, you can choose instead to make a single stasis bomb attack. If he does so, roll to hit as normal and resolve the attack as Strength D AP1. Woo! If the attack misses, however, he suffers a Strength D AP1 hit himself, which at only 4 wounds or 3 wounds, that might not end well for him, give or take. Or it might end really well for him. He even rolls a 1 to wound himself. Who knows? Now, normally, we always skip to the back of the book and we go over the war gear and such, so we should probably jump there real quick to give you an idea as we go over these units, what exactly we're talking about. Because these things are pointed up and presented in a certain way that it would be good to know exactly what all this stuff does. So first off, we've got normal stuff in here. We've seen special issue ammunition in the past. However, now it has a dual mode if it's presented in a Stalker pattern bolt gun. Which, remember, Stalker pattern bolt gun is the weapon of choice for, what is it? Telion in the Ultramarines. The old man Telion, the scout sergeant, is the only guy I know of that actually has a Stalker pattern bolt gun. But a lot of these guys have it, and it comes with special issue ammunition. A very important thing to remember with this, it is a heavy weapon, so you can't move and fire it unless, of course, you have a special ability that allows you to, or you fire it. If you move and fire, you could, of course, use the special issue ammunition part of it, right? So that being said, I don't really get how that works, because if you have a Stalker pattern bolt gun, right? The Stalker pattern bolt gun is a heavy weapon, so this is heavy. It's also sniper. So actually, I don't even think that works that way, because this is the bolt gun round. If you have a bolt gun and you have the special issue ammunition, this is what your Dragonfire round would be, just like the Stern Guard, right? Rapid fire ignores cover for Dragonfire. Hellfire is the rapid fire poison 2, which we already saw. Kraken is your just straight strength 4 AP extra range, but it is AP 4, so it's a little bit better, a little bit stronger at range. And Vengeance round is your rapid fire gets hot, but it's your AP 3, so it's, you know, it's basically anti-Astartes armor. Anti-Astartes round, basically. So if you switch to Stalker pattern bolt gun, you're slinging heavy bolts, basically. And over here, your normal Stalker pattern bolt gun is also heavy. So you have to be careful. You can't move and shoot with that Stalker pattern bolt gun, regardless of what round you use right there, right? So something to consider, I feel like. Now, we haven't seen officially the stats for these guys, for the veterans, out of the Codex, right? So until we bust up the new video in here on the brand new Codex, it's anybody's guess, right? Like if you can take a mix and match of Stalker bolt guns, or if you can mix and match out your bolt gun with special issue ammunition. But for all intents and purposes, in the data sheets in here, they mix and match them in the squads. But if somebody uses the special issue ammunition, you have to use the round for the whole squad. So something to keep in mind here when you're using these particular formations. So there's all that, right? Stalker pattern bolt gun, like we said, nothing new there. Infernus heavy bolter is both a heavy bolter and a heavy flamer strapped underneath it. So that's kind of interesting, right? So you got the heavy bolter. Generally, it has the Hellfire shell as well. So that's a heavy 1 blast poison 2, but not always. Don't know going forward if it will, but for right now, it's definitely this part right here. Then over here in melee weapons, we got 2 brand new pieces of equipment here. The Xenophase Blade, which is an AP3 melee with a weapon with a molecular realignment field, which any successful invulnerable needs to be re-rolled against wounds inflicted by this weapon. And a Heavy Thunder Hammer, which is most definitely Strength 10, AP2, Pulverized, Concussed, Two-Handed, Unwieldy. So it's swinging it unwieldy, no big deal. Pulverized, if the wound roll for an attack with this weapon is a 6, the attack has the instant death special rule. Wow, watch out Gargantuans and Super Heavies. There's a new sheriff in town and he has a Heavy Thunder Hammer, because you won't be able to pick them up off the table, but you will definitely do some D3 damage to those bad boys, because at Strength 10 AP2, that's the last thing a Gargantuan or Super Heavy wants to see hitting them in the face. Now, they have a special ability called Mission Tactics, which is kind of like Chapter Tactics for the normal Astartes, but a little bit different in the fact that you basically pick it, and only once during the battle at the start of any turn, after the first, you can choose to change the current mission tactics for another one. So you got to keep it, and you can change it once. Now Artemis lets you change it an additional time. And basically what they are is you re-roll hits of 1 for a specific type of unit, like a troop unit, a fast attack unit, an elite, a heavy, or an HQ. So you just basically like, all right, whenever you target. So it doesn't specify. It's kind of like Age of Sigmar there in that regard, where it doesn't specify to hit in combat or to hit with shooting. It's just to hit is it to hit at this point, reroll 1. So it's almost like it gives you a preferred enemy against a specific slot in the force organization, which is kind of cool because sometimes it's very hard to get that against monstrous creatures and such. So the ability to maybe take it against, heavy support and then switch it to something that's a gargantuan, like maybe an HQ unit, would be pretty cool, I feel like. And then it goes into the special issue war gear, which Storm Shield we've seen in the past, Hellfire Shields, shells, we talked about that, Iron Halo. I swear if you've been playing 40k, you definitely know what that is. And then it jumps into the Forces of Eldar, which we're going to kind of skim over, but try to spend a little bit of time on, because I don't want this to go too far, too quick. So we talked about Watch Captain Artemis, right? A great looking model, an homage to kind of the old style, the 54mm scale Inquisitor model from the past. At 145, he's a little pricey, more than a normal captain would be, but I feel like for all his gear and his stat line here, he's not quite a chapter master, obviously, but he still has an impressive stat line that has a really neat stasis bomb ability and not too shabby close shooting attack as well. Now we jump into the squads themselves, and that's where it gets a little convoluted, a little clunky, I guess you could say. Now I don't want to sound down. I don't want to talk down to this, but this is a lot of stuff to take in and keep straight. So let's take a look at it. You got basically Squad Krull, right, which is a Sternguard squad for all intents and purposes, right? So that's interestingly enough, the 40k Deathwatch rules used to be a chapter approved. Actually, that would be a great flashback article to do. So they were a special chapter approved set of rules, and then at some point, I want to say it was the 5th edition Space Marine Codex, they took their rules and basically made Sternguard Marines and kind of got rid of the Death Watch, and there was never any mention again about them for roughly since 2008, I want to say. So you could always still play with your Deathwatch models and just say they're Sternguard, because they were basically the rules when they switched them up in 2008. But that being said, these guys, for all intents and purposes, are based on a Sternguard veteran squad, which starts at 110 points. Now they're a little high here at 205, but there's a reason for that, because they have stuff mixed in here, like for instance, power weapons, which would normally cost you in the Space Marine book roughly, Power Fist is 25. So I want to say, how much is a power weapon for them? I actually don't know how much a power weapon was for them. Power swords for them. I don't think they could take power swords, to be quite honest. So maybe we could look at how much it was for a Vanguard, because that would be the nearest comparison. And it looks like for Vanguard, they're only 5 points. So power armor aren't really a big thing. But the Sergeant has a Xenophase blade, which is a little bit better than your your normal run-of-the-mill power weapon there. Now, 2 veterans have a bolt gun and a power sword. Okay, stalker pattern bolt gun for 1 veteran, so he's basically the squad sniper, so to speak, and a close combat weapon. And then 1 veteran has the Infernus heavy bolter with hellfire shells, so he's getting that blast. So you can fire each one of those 3 shots could be a blast. Pretty cool, right? I believe. Let's take a look. So hellfire shells. Each time a weapon fires, the controlling player can choose whether to fire a hellfire shell or use the ordinary profile. Okay, so no, but it can fire a strength 1, blast poison 2 for the heavy bolter. In addition to that, it can also fire its heavy flamer because it has 2 weapon profiles. So as far as I can tell, there's no restriction here on, hey, this is the profile of the weapon. Okay, well that's cool. It's basically both. Neat. Because it's one weapon. You can only fire 1 weapon. If you're an infantry model, you can only ever fire 1 weapon. So I elect to fire that, right? And as long as you don't fire, I would judge from the wording here. Each time a weapon with a hellfire, the controlling player can choose to whether fire a heavy short or use the ordinary profile for that weapon. Well, the ordinary profile for that weapon would be this right here. Infernus heavy bolter with hellfire shells. Infernus heavy bolter. Infernus heavy flamer. And Infernus heavy bolter has both weapons. As far as I can tell, you can fire both of those weapons if you choose to not fire the hellfire shell, to use the ordinary profile of that weapon. So as far as I can tell, you can fire both of these as 1 weapon. And that's what I mean, obviously there's already going to need to be an FAQ about this, but judging by infantry models can fire 1 weapon, that's technically 1 weapon. I would say it's okay. I would allow it in my tournament. And then all models have frag grenade, crack grenades, and some special issue ammunition, which Sternguard already comes with. So there's a little bit of a points difference right here, and that may be for the fact that 1 model has hatred. That does not confer to the squad, though. Keep that in mind. And mission tactics, which gives you that preferred enemy against, let's say, a battlefield role, so to speak. So there's that. So it's it's about 95 more points, but it would be cool. You can sub this in, to other Deathwatch stuff like they were talking about there, because we don't know all the formations. There is a Decurion detachment in it, judging by the table of contents that we've already seen. Next up is Squad Galatel. This is basically a Vanguard veteran squad, and like I said, that's easy to compare to, right? Because a Vanguard veteran squad goes for 95 points normally. But all their stuff's out of the cart. Like their power weapons are 5 points, their thunder hammers are 20, their storm shields are 10, and then these guys have a heavy thunder hammer. No clue on how many points that's going to be, but I would imagine it's at least 30 points if a thunder hammer's 20, you know what I mean? And a storm shield right there. So you figure that's 30 points plus another 10. You're talking maybe 40 points right there. So I can see where some of that points came from. Power sword and a storm shield, again, more points there. It has the heroic intervention, which is nothing new. It does have mission tactics, precision strikes for the sergeant, which has a plasma pistol and a power sword. Remember, precision strikes works for both of those, shooting and close combat. So that's kind of neat to see. You'll get to allocate those out. And they shall know no fear, mission tactics, pretty much the same stat line here with the sergeant getting an extra upgrade. So not exactly sure, depending on the points cost of the, and the power maul here, which power maul is really interesting because it's AP4 concussive and it's strength 7. So that's really neat to see. It's great against Xenos zombie type stuff. It really does the Lord's work on that. Now it's not going to do well against, say, a Space Marine, but that's not really what it's designed for. This is the Ordo Xenos. They do expect to go up against some of that heresy, right? Or some of that Xenos heresy. Then we've got a Dreadnought. We got a new Dreadnought. Oh my god, it's got 4 attacks. What is going on? Games Workshop gave more attacks. Nah, that's cool to see. Plasma cannon, power fist with built-in storm bolter, smoke launchers even. Woo! Pretty much standard Dreadnought. You know what I mean? So he's 135. Normally I think these guys go for what? I want to say a normal Dreadnought. Let's see. Let's take bets right now. A normal Dreadnought, venerable Dreadnought, I am going to say goes for 105. Say 105. We'll give you a second to get your bets in here as I look him up. And oh no, he goes for 125. So he's only 10 points more. That's pretty respectable, because what he gets here is basically something we see on Contemptors a lot, is a 6-up invulnerable save increased to 5 against enemy Witchfire powers. So not in close... I don't know. I guess it does work in close combat. That's neat. If he suffers a penetrating hit, you can make your opponent re-roll the result because of the venerable ability. Nothing new there that we haven't seen before. Standard armor loadout, plasma cannon, power fist, storm bolter. So kind of cool. Nothing about scoring, nothing about any of that. But if he slots into, if there's an opportunity to slot him into something that maybe makes him scoring, that would be cool to see. And then Watch Force Artemis, which is the combination of all of those data sheets right there. Gives them an extra reroll on armor to wound rolls and to armor pen rolls of 1, regardless of what they're shooting at battlefield roll wise with their mission tactics. Fight as 1 is the last breath. They get Feel No Pain 6 up, and the Krull's Hatred special rule applies out, and Galatel's Precision Strikes applies to all the units within 6 inches of them. That's kind of cool. You can deploy them as a single kill team altogether. They can never leave, even if they are a special independent character. So that's cool to see that Dreadnought would be part of a larger squad now of infantry, whereas he's an armor value, but he's part of an infantry squad with toughness. How does that work? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's madness. Now we get over to the Eldar section. Same deal with Eldar. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on these guys. I'm sorry. They are basically the same. Forces of Eldar, you can sub them out based on this stuff here. They're allies of convenience with armies of Imperium, Tau Eldar, battle brothers with Dark Eldar and Eldar. Go figure. Desperate allies with orcs and come the apocalypse to cast demons, cast space marines, Necrons, and Tyranids. Now you can sub them in and sub them out based on this stuff here. If you got a Death Jester, you can switch out the Spectre. Same with all this stuff here. Pretty straightforward, but it's good that they put this in, so this alleviates FAQ, possibilities and such. Here's Eldrad with his new Billy Badass model. First, I want to say the first model the first 90 special character that's finally been redone in plastic. Love it. Good job, GW. We have been waiting for this. I would like to suggest Mephiston, the Lord of Death, as the next one up to get redone, or Dante. But probably Mephiston. And then Logan Grimnar, because he's just tiny. It's just not fair. he's feeling very insignificant. It's very cold out. He's shrunk a little. He's a little guy. Poor little guy. So Eldrad's pretty much the same. I can't figure out anything that's different about him. So there is that, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm not seeing it, and to be quite honest, I did not pull up the Codex to double check. I looked at the Harlequin Codex instead about a lot of these squads right here. Now, these troops aren't called troops. They're the special Red Dusk kind of dudes, or Red Moon, Red Dusk guys. Now, they are more expensive for the troop, so to speak. They are, I want to say, like 25 points more, I believe. There's only so many models in the Eldar books, and they're 95 normally, so this is 40 more, this is 50 more, and their actually stats are lower. This is the actual stat line right here of a troop master. This is lower right here, which I don't exactly get. They have an accoutrement of weapons that are assigned to them that are normally upgrade points, but they have to be taken this certain way. The only thing that I can see that's different here besides that is this special ability here that they can run and charge in the same move, same turn. Now there's nothing in here normally that gives them that, as far as I can tell, just the flip belts and these special rules right here. Same over here. This particular models from this company can run and shoot in the same turn, and of course they have a complete loadout of shooting weapons right there that they normally don't come with. Now, is that worth the extra 50 points or 40 points for a troop? I don't think so, personally, from a competitive standpoint, but maybe if you want to recreate something, or there's a way to slot them into a Harlequin faction formation, that would be pretty good, right? Because remember right here, same deal. You can switch them in and out for Harlequin formations. So, question mark. The Spectre model has all the same special rules in everything that he normally has. I believe he is 10 points more than he normally is. Let's see. Death Jester is 60 points. He's 10 points more. Yep. But he has Shrouded. We didn't see Shrouded before. That's a new one. Everything else looks to be the same, as far as I can tell. And the Blades of Fate, which is just, what is that, a Star Runner Star Runner PPU jet bikes right there is, oh, those are Sky Reavers. That's the 2 jet bike pack, and of course they come with a special ability called Fortune's Fate, where they can reroll their Jinx saves for 125. Is it worth 25 extra points? I don't know. I don't think so. They do come standard apparently with the Zephyr Glaive as opposed to the Star Bola, which I kind of prefer the Star Bola, to be honest, like the AP weapon, but maybe not. Maybe they got something else in mind here. That's the only thing that is different between them as far as I can tell. Then moving on to the Serpent's Breath, which has this special ability here, which lets them split fire basically the Shuriken Cannon on the back. Then it can only target units in the rear armor facing right there. Now, the Star Weaver has the same exact loadout, except for it has the Prismatic Cannon upgrade, which 70 points, not 20 points. I don't know. I guess it's worth it. 20 extra points. I don't know. The ability to split fire, and it has the Prismatic Cannon on page 36. That is not ringing a bell now that I think about it. I don't know what that is. Prismatic Cannon. Prismatic Cannon. Fire focus. Why does that sound familiar? Not sure. Well, the very last part here is super easy, so we are going to look that bad boy up and see if it's in the book here for these guys, for the Harley Quinns. Prismatic. It is in the book for her. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't remember that being an option for this particular, but I guess it would have to be, because where else would you put it on a vehicle? You couldn't. Oh well, anyways, there's always something in these things that I don't quite. I do the research and we say, I sit here and I write it all up, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, there's that one little thing I missed, and that was it for today. Yay, Easter eggs. And the very last thing in here is the formation for all of them, which is a little bit bigger than the Death Watch formation. But the cool thing here is, if you take these all, Eldar gets the Eternal Warrior special roll. Okay, and each time a model from the formation suffers an unsaved wound, roll a dice. On a roll of 6, the wound was merely an afterimage of the real target, and it is ignored. So I like ignored. It's not exactly feel no pain, but I like the terminology ignored, because you just ignore it. And nothing you can do about that. And then it gets into the weapon summaries, which obviously all the stuff is exactly the same. We're not seeing anything new except for that formation, as far as I can tell, and those few little special rules that are attached to the data sheets. So there it is. That is the Death Masque supplement. So if you get this, keep it, because it'll actually help you in your games. If you decide to play either of these armies, because there is stuff in here that may or may not be in the respective codexes. Obviously, the Harlequin stuff, some of it is new. The Death Masque, however, we're not sure until you watch the video on here. You just won't know, right? Alright, so make sure you check out the other videos that are going to be up for this week's launch of the new Death Watch, starting with the Death Masque box set.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.